So anyway, devotees and friends and family members, I think I'm going to read perhaps a couple of few verses even. The subject matter I thought I would focus on is association with devotees. And when I say with devotees, I don't just mean, people like, well, say myself or us or Prabhupada Priya Prabhu there, or Bhakti Brihad Bhagavat Maharaj, who was here apparently a few months ago.
Yes, Maharaj, yes.
Yeah, not like us who are like fully involved, but just yourselves, because you're all devotees. And yeah, the association of devotees is really important. So yes, like I said, I'll read a few verses. I'm going to start by reading one verse. It's actually from the Adi Purana. The Adi Purana is what is called anyway, it's a secondary Purana. It's not one of the main 18, which are generally very famous, like Srimad Bhagavatam is one, is the 18th, Padma Purana and Shiva Purana, Brahma Purana, and so on. Yes. So the secondary Puranas, they're called Alpa Puranas, and they're in the category, but they're secondary. So, but it's a really nice verse. It's Lord Krishna speaking to Arjuna, not Bhagavad Gita, but just Lord Krishna speaking to Arjuna. First of all, though, let's, you can repeat after. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Yes, so it's a really nice verse which appears in Adi Purana, and it's quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Some of you might have copies of Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you do, it's the Madhya Leela, the middle Leela, and it's verse 28. Ye me bhakta jana parta, na me bhaktas chate jana, mad bhaktanam chaye bhaktas, te me bhaktatama mataha. You heard the word bhakta repeated there. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Yes, so Lord Krishna says, those who are my direct devotees are actually not my devotees. But those who are devotees of my devotees are factually my devotees. It's a very important part of Krishna consciousness particularly, but just religion in general. Religion in general, that the devotees are extremely dear to the Lord. It's sort of like children. I think you all have children, and you know what it's like. You have your children, particularly when they're little, or just any time really, and you're always concerned about your children, and they're just so important. And if some serious problem arises with one of your children, then it's really a big thing, really something of great concern. So yes, Lord Krishna's like that. His devotees are like his children, you can say. And Prabhupada would give the example that a rich person, very rich person, like the king of Bethal, whoever that might be, the king of Bethal. So the king of Bethal has got everything, probably a few houses, quite a number of very good motor cars, and so on and so forth. And if you want to sort of win his favor, a lot of time when people want to win the favor of someone else, they give them a gift, something like that. And then the person feels a little obliged to them. So, but when it's a person who has everything, or maybe has 10 of everything, something like that, just, and if you're an ordinary person, so he's probably got a couple of Mercedes Benz or something like that, and you can't afford to get him a Rolls Royce or something, very impressive. What are you going to do? But Prabhupada gives the example, if you happen to meet that person with their son or grandchild in the park sometime, they're just having a little walk, and you go up and you give the child one sweet, then, and the child, of course, will be probably quite excited, but you'll immediately, the heart of that important person will be moved by you, and they'll think, oh, what a nice person. So like this, if we serve the devotees, then Krishna, because talk about having everything, Krishna literally has everything, more than we can imagine, a lot more than we can imagine. And he's surrounded by so many people who love him so much and are just dedicated to him. And then there's us, and we're something. We're not nothing, but we're not really important amongst the devotees. I was reading, some time ago actually, Prabhupada's talking about Krishna with the gopis, the cowherd girls, not here when he was here 5,000 years ago, but in the spiritual world, in the kingdom of God, where everything's on a much bigger scale. And Srila Prabhupada says there, in the main group of gopis surrounding Krishna, there are about 7 billion. That's about the population of this planet, I think. Of course, nobody really knows what the population of the planet is, but they say it's something like that. So for us here in Bethel to break into the inner circle, that's challenging. But like the example of the very wealthy man with a little child or grandchild, they'll really take note of you if you please their child. So therefore, if we please the devotees, if we are devotees ourselves, then Krishna will be very pleased with us. And if we are devotees and we please other devotees, Krishna will be extra pleased with us. And when the Lord is pleased with us, then nothing can really stand in your way. You probably know the story of Sudama, the Brahmin. I'm thinking many of you are Gujarati. Are you Gujarati? It's okay. I'm not either. I speak a few words. Are you Gujarati? I know you are. Are you Gujarati?
No.
Anyway, it's okay. So let's just say, Sudama the Brahmin, who's very dear devotee of Lord Krishna from that time, 5,000 years ago, he's very famous. He's described in a few pastimes in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He was at school with Krishna. They were school friends. They were school friends in Nasik, with Sandipani Muni. And they're very close friends. There was an incident, if you're familiar with the Bhagavad, you would know there was an incident, when Krishna was at school, he and Sudama, they were sent out to gather wood for their guru, their teacher, Sandipani Muni. And so out they went, and they collected wood, but suddenly a big storm came, a really big storm, and they were just stuck out in the forest, and they couldn't really move. So they had to stay there the whole night. Somehow, they just stuck it out in the storm. And the next morning, Sandipani Muni himself, the teacher, the guru, came out with a group of other disciples to find them. And when they found them, then Sandipani Muni said, I'm so pleased with you because you undertook such great inconvenience and difficulty to serve me. Right, so that was Krishna and Sudama together. So anyway, when they left school, they went their separate ways. Krishna was in Mathura at that time. Then later he went to Dwaraka in Gujarat. And Sudama was a Brahmin, like a priest. And he was living also in Gujarat, Porbandar. Maybe some of you, your families came from there. Or somewhere in Gujarat. Anyway, he was from Porbandar. It's in Gujarat, not so far from Dwaraka. And they were just carrying on their lives separate from each other. But Sudama was extremely poor. He just had a little hut, like a straw hut, basically. But he was living there with his wife and children, and somehow or other. Anyway, they were so poor that they couldn't even eat. some days, anything at all. So the wife said to him that, you know, I don't mind not eating sometimes, but our children, they don't understand. And, you know, they become disturbed and it's not good for them. So she said, you know, your old friend Krishna, he is now a prince in Dwaraka. So why don't you go and ask him if he could give some money, just so we can feed the children, not even ourselves, but at least just the children. So Sudama agreed, right, I'll do that. And he's about to leave when he thought, I should take some gift with me. But he had nothing. All he had was some, like, broken rice. Broken, like what they normally use, they just feed to animals, actually. They don't really use for humans. Yeah. And he just had a little of this broken rice. So he wrapped it up in his cloth that he had around his shoulders. He wrapped a little bit, like a little handful. And off he went. And it was a bit of a walk. But he arrived in Dwaraka and he was shown in to Krishna's palace, and they had what a reunion. Such a wonderful reunion. After many years not seeing each other, and so they sat down and they're sort of catching up. What have you been doing? What have you been doing? All these types of things. And Krishna said to Sudama, what did you bring for me? You must have brought something. And Sudama, he felt too embarrassed to offer this broken rice because it's not really fit for human consumption. So he just said, well, no, I didn't, because I just didn't have anything. And Krishna said, no, you must have brought something. What's there in your cloth around your shoulders? And he just grabbed it. And there was, you know, like a handful or so of this broken rice. And Krishna just started eating it. I don't know if any of you have eaten totally uncooked rice. I know we've eaten loads of cooked rice, but how about totally raw? Well, I have. Well, you know, in Puri, Jagannath Puri, they distribute it as prasad for like people who are going to travel. But sure, it's really crunchy. You have to watch out if your teeth are not too strong. They may get damaged. So, but Krishna said, oh, what nice rice. Thank you so much. Why didn't you tell me you brought it? Anyway, they spent the whole night just talking, and a very affectionate reunion. And in the morning, Sudama left back for Porbandar, and he was almost there when he thought that I forgot to ask Krishna to give me some money. Oh my gosh, that was my mission. And I just forgot, because I just got so caught up with Krishna. Oh no, what's my wife going to say? And then he thought to himself, well, actually, I'm glad I didn't ask Krishna for money, because if I had, I would have probably become carried away and bought an 84-inch television to watch Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. What's it? Om Shanti Om, Aishwarya and Abhishek. So I'm glad I didn't get any money. It would have corrupted me. So then he got back to home, at least where his home had been, and he saw his little straw hut had become transformed into a palace, a Raj Mahal, great palace. And he thought, oh, I must have taken a wrong turning. This is not my place at all. But then his wife came out, beautifully dressed and ornamented and everything. And he understood that Krishna did this. Even though I didn't actually ask him for anything, but he understood. So anyway, that's a nice little story. Famous little story of Krishna with Sudama, the Brahman. But yeah, just to illustrate though, my point was just to illustrate, the devotees are really dear to the Lord. They're really dear to the Lord. It's amazing. And Krishna goes out of his way for his devotees. He really does. I mean, I've experienced it so much myself. You know, here I am. I'm 71. I don't know if I'm the oldest person here, but fairly close to it, if not the actual one. But anyway, you know, I retired 50 years ago. Did you know that? 50 years ago, I haven't worked since I was 21. But look, I haven't starved to death yet. You see? Yeah. Krishna has looked after me. In fact, the problem is not so much where to get food, but the problem is too much really nice prasadam. That's the problem. So yeah, so anyway, you know, in this regard, I wanted to read a couple of other verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2 or 3, maybe 3. This is from, I mean, you could look these up if you note these verses. These are very special. 9th canto, chapter 4, verse 63, and I think 66 and 68, the 3 verses I'll read. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Aham Bhakta Paradino, Hyasvatantra Ivaduja, Sadhu Biagrasta Hridayo, Bhakta Bhakta Jana Priya. That word Bhakta is there. So this is Krishna, this is the Lord speaking to Durvasa Muni. I don't know if you've heard of Durvasa. He's a famous Vedic sage, well, Muni, as his name suggests. Muni means like a philosopher, that sort of person, a thinker. Yeah, Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni, it's a long story, I won't go into the whole story, but I mean, you could read it, it's a really interesting story. How he's not really a devotee, he's more just Vedic. Yeah, he's more just Vedic, Brahmin scholar, that sort of person. So, but you know, he worships everyone. Yeah. I had an experience some years ago actually in Vrindavan area at one temple in the Varshana area, Radharani's area. Some of you might be familiar with that area. We visited one big temple there, the Jaipur temple, and the priests there, I asked them, what's your sampradaya? You understand sampradaya? the spiritual line that you come in. Apka Sampradaya Kya Hai. And because they don't speak English, but then the one he replied, what did he say? We are the anything Sampradaya. And I didn't catch it. I thought he was speaking Hindi, but although it was English. We are the anything, like anything goes Sampradaya. And I said, Konsa Sampradaya? Which Sampradaya? And he said, yeah, we are the anything Sampradaya. He said, we are employed by the government, and whatever temple they send us to, it's a Durga temple, a Shiva temple, this temple, Tamil temple, any temple, we do the puja. So we're any sampradaya, doesn't matter. So Devasa Muni is kind of like that. He's got very broad perspective, you could say. But he managed, unfortunately, to offend one great devotee, whose name is Ambarish, a king, Maharaj Ambarish. He managed to offend him very grievously. And the Lord sent his chakra. Young man, do you know the name of the Lord's chakra? Do you know the name of Lord Vishnu's chakra, his weapon? Okay, I'll tell you what it is, but when I come next time, I'll test you on it, okay? So you must remember. All right. It's the Sudarshan chakra. Sudarshan chakra. Yeah, it's like his weapon, one of his weapons. So this Devasa Muni, he offended Maharaj Ambarish devotee so badly, and then suddenly found the Lord's chakra is chasing him to kill him. So he had to run. He just had to run. He's running here, and he went to so many of the demigods, the Devas and Devis. He went to Parvati, he went to Lord Brahma, even went to Lord Indra, and asked them, can you help me get free from this chakra which is chasing me? And they all said, no, this is the Supreme Lord's chakra, we can't help you. We just can't help you. So anyway, finally he ended up with Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva said, I cannot help you because I have no control over such a thing. But you go ask the Supreme Lord himself. It's his weapon. Ask him to withdraw it. And that's what's happening here, is that Devasa has asked the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, please withdraw the chakra. I've obviously offended you. So, I'm so sorry, please forgive me, but please withdraw the chakra. So then the Lord explains, here we are. This is the Lord speaking to Devasa. I'm completely under the control of my devotees. Indeed, I am not at all independent, because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires. I sit only within the course of their hearts. What to speak of my devotees, even those who are devotees of my devotee, are very dear to me. people who are devotees of my devotee means they're not Krishna's devotees. Otherwise, he'd just include them that my devotees. But these now are devotees of my devotees. They're not actually the Lord's devotees, but they're somehow very dedicated to someone who is a devotee of the Lord. They're very dear to me, the Lord says. And, what is it? Oh, you may like this one. As chaste women bring their gentle husbands under control by service, the devotees who are equal to everyone and completely attached to me in the core of the heart bring me under their full control. Because, I don't know if I should even mention it, but I know, at least in sort of Western society, in a lot of marriages, the wife sort of keeps control, or to some degree control of the husband, and gets him to do what she wants by, they call it henpecking. Have you heard of that? Maybe I shouldn't even mention it, because I'm sure you ladies don't do things like that at all. But just by persistently asking or pressurizing, something like that, it's called henpecking. But here the Lord says, the devotees bring me under control by their service to me, just like Arjuna. Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna, Krishna, they're on the chariot. Krishna is the Lord. Arjuna's the devotee. But who's the driver? It's Krishna. He's driving for his devotee. And being a driver, it's not like some important type of occupation generally at all. It's just very ordinary type of occupation. But having a chauffeur, you have a chauffeur, don't you? Yeah, there he is. Your chauffeur who drives you around. Yeah, that's for important people. Yeah, being chauffeured around. So Arjuna was being chauffeured by Krishna. But Arjuna is the devotee. He's the servant. And Krishna's the master. So you might think it's inappropriate. But the thing was, out of love for his devotee, Krishna drove the chariot. And Arjuna was saying, go this way, go that way, go faster, slow down, and all this. And Krishna was doing those things. Yeah, out of love for his devotee. Yes. So like this, like Prabhupada, on one Radhastami, Radhastami, the appearance day of Radharani. There she is on your right. And it's normally in September. And one day Prabhupada was giving a class on Radhastami. And he said that the relationship between Radha and Krishna is so close. And she serves him so much. He feels so indebted to her. He'll do whatever she says. And so Prabhupada said that if Radharani Radharani is the mother of devotion. She's watching, overseeing all the devotees who are engaged in service to the Lord and trying to help them. And if she sees one devotee doing just a little bit of service, not too much, just a little bit, but something nice, then she thinks, oh, what a nice person. I will tell Krishna about this devotee. So Radharani goes to Krishna, and Prabhupada said that she says to Krishna, she says, Krishna, down in Bethal or Creole or somewhere, there's one nice devotee named ... fill in the blank. There's one nice devotee, and Krishna, I want you to accept this devotee. And Krishna immediately says, yes, 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 of course. And Prabhupada makes the point that you may that devotee being recommended may not actually be much of a devotee, actually, but with the recommendation of Radharani, who's the topmost devotee, Krishna accepts. So so one last verse, here we go. It's verse 68, and those of you who have Bhagavatam sets and read them. You should read these verses, they're just really nice. This is verse 68. And it's the Lord speaking. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I'm always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. So one of our great acharyas, one of our great teachers, gurus from a few hundred years ago, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comments on the first of these verses that I read, from the Bhagavatam. And he says that in the course of this discussion between Durvasa, who wants protection and mercy and for his life to be saved, in the course of that discussion between him and the Lord, he tells the Lord, my Lord, you have a very soft heart, a very kind heart, very merciful heart. You're famous for that. You're very kind to the distressed. And I am very distressed. So please, from your very merciful heart, please give me some mercy and save my life. And the Lord replies, you're right. I have a very merciful heart. But there's one problem. I don't have my heart any longer. I gave it to my devotees. So if you want some mercy from my merciful heart, you have to approach my devotees. So he tells him, so you have to go back to Ambarish, who he offended, and get forgiveness, which he did. And Ambarish forgave him immediately. So, the reason I'm focusing like this evening, there's a special reason, is that, I know there's the temple on the other side, right? I've been there numerous times, years ago, in the old Indian area. And I've done a number of programs in that temple. And that's nice. But for those who are really trying to take Krishna consciousness seriously, and not just in the sort of the general way, but trying to actually practice Krishna consciousness and really be devotees of Krishna, It'd be really nice for you to get together, not just every now and then when some sort of special thing, little special thing happens, but regularly get together. And even though, I mean, all you got to do, like the kirtan you had earlier, what a nice kirtan. It was lovely. From the heart. Just have a little kirtan and just read some verses like we just read, and some of the purports perhaps. You know, every so often, once a week, every couple of weeks or whatever. And just, sort of, there's strength in numbers. So there you go, devotees and friends. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Bethal Yatra ki jai. Prabhupada Priya Prabhu, what shall we do?
Any questions or comments?
Yes. Any questions or comments?
Anybody wants to write a question?
Because they told me the devotees in Bethal and surrounding areas are very intelligent and thoughtful. I mean, okay. You can just speak it if you like.
So,
Yes, Prabhuji.
so Krishna knew that Sudam was very poor.
Yes.
He would have known that by default. And he knew that Sudam is his very close friend.
Yes.
Why did he not favor him a little bit and say, okay, fine, I'll give you a bit of opulence, you don't have to struggle so much with your wife and children financially, good food on the table.
He did. Maybe you didn't get that at the end.
He
He
did.
transformed the hut into a palace. Oh, I didn't make that clear enough.
No, you made that clear, but prior to that.
Oh, prior. Well, Sudama was happy living like that. He didn't go because he wanted to go.
Because his wife
He
asked him
went because his wife appealed to him. Otherwise, he liked it. There's a little sort of saying, austerity is the wealth of the Brahmins. Austerity is the wealth of the Brahmins. And, Krishna was aware, but it may have been, I'm saying it may have been, that Krishna wanted that situation to arise so Sudama would come and they could meet together and associate together. And then he would intervene rather than, remotely.
Which makes sense because a person only thinks of God, Krishna, when he's going through difficulties. When you got
Many
it all,
people.
then Krishna does not matter anymore.
That's right. With so many people.
Yes.
But Sudama, he was very renounced, extremely renounced. And he just made do. Yes. And Krishna often Krishna wanted his association. Sometimes Krishna creates situations just to get his devotees' association. Yeah. Creates circumstances. So and generally Brahmin, like real Brahmins, not, some other variety of Brahmin. They like to live very simply. There's a famous story about Chanakya. You heard of Chanakya Pandit? He made the Chanakya Niti Shastra, all their sayings, like moral sayings. Yes. So he was the prime minister of Chandragupta, who was one of the last emperors of United India. And the Greeks, Alexander the Great, they got that far, but they didn't defeat Chandragupta. But they met with him, and Chandragupta had Chanakya, his prime minister, meet with them to, negotiate. You know about Alexander the Great's attack. Yeah. So Chanakya was very austere Brahmin. After the meeting, or they met for a while, then he took the main representative of Alexander to his hut, and they sat down, and they're continuing the discussion by lamplight. And after they discussed, they sort of came to the end of their discussion, and they just started chatting about life, not business. And Chanakya, the Greek, noticed Chanakya brought out another little oil lamp and lit that, and extinguished the oil lamp that had been burning while he was negotiating with the Greek. And the Greek asked him, "Why did you do that? The other lamp was burning fine." Chanakya said, that was when we were talking business. That was the government's oil. Now we're chatting. This is my oil. An oil lamp. You know what I mean? You get the idea?
Yes.
So the Lord doesn't interfere with his devotees. Often. Sometimes he does. But he really, I would say there's a distinct possibility. He arranged it like that so he could see Sudamra. Otherwise, he'd never see him.
Which is very likely to have happened.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for the explanation, Mara.
Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone.